Hello, beautiful souls. Kyla here. Today I'm going to be working in a journal that I taught during a retreat, an online retreat with Tiffany Smith and Shimmy Dixon. We did a soulfully raw and quirky retreat, and I'm always looking for ways to add to the pages in this journal. So I thought, let me grab my stencil. Yes, my stencil. It's a new stencil that's being produced by Stencil Girl, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. So I'm looking at some little focal images that I have here that I often save from Soul Collage content. And here is my stencil. This one is called Aura, and I know you can't see it very well because I have been using it and loving on it since the day I got it in the mail. So I will show at the end some of the prints and things that I did during my first sort of testing of the stencil. But for now, I thought I'm going to use this stencil to really work with a focal image of a person, because the stencil is called Aura because it's kind of how I feel when I'm in people's energy. I believe that I've done a lot of work to be able to tune in to my own energy, which makes me hyper aware of other people's energy as well. And so I feel like depending on who I'm around, I can feel these like waves of energy moving and pulsating. And it moves and pulsates differently depending on who I'm hanging out with. So this stencil is symbolic of that energy that I feel when I'm hanging out with other people. And so I thought, well, let's do a page where the aura is the background and the person has a story that goes with their aura. So I'm just using some paint here. I think this paint is called something like Mars Violet, and it's by Nova Paints, Nova Color. And I actually really like it because it's violet, but it leans towards pink a little bit, so it gives me almost like a reddy pink sort of thing happening. And then I've got some yellow ochre as well. And I thought putting it on this brown page because it already has some texture from the crinkliness of this paper. So I'm just playing with this. And I was really intentional not to put the entire stencil down, and I used two different colors. And really just giving myself permission to play here and to see what this stencil can do and be. And also at the same time kind of tuning into her energy. Who is she? What's her story? I feel like we spend a lot of time in people's energy, but we don't always get to know their story. So I thought I'd make up a little story for her as I was creating this page. I'm coming in with some gold because that page already has some gold leaf on it. So I thought, let me add a little more gold to it. Let's make it really pop, because she's got this pose that makes me feel like she's a bold kind of energy. And for me, gold is one of those colors that's kind of bold. So I'm coming in next with some Payne's Gray that is inside of one of those needle nose little tubes, and this started empty and you can actually add your own paint to it. So I'm sure y'all have seen these before, but I'm coming in and just adding a little bit of definition around my auras to just sort of make them stand out a little bit more, and just adding some detail to the page. Also, I feel like whenever I use Payne's Gray, I'm getting to do some mark making and bringing in some contrast. So that's what you see me doing here with that. And the way that paint comes out of that needle nose is a fine line, but it also creates a little bit of a raised element on the page. It's subtle, but if you rub your hand over it, you can almost feel the paint sort of raised off the surface. And so I thought that would be a really interesting effect. So now I'm looking for some paint pens. I'm like, okay, gotta have a gold paint pen because we've already got gold accents happening. And her outfit's feeling a little dull to me, so I thought I'm gonna give her a little bit of pop with some gold buttons. So I'm just going over the buttons and the designs on her jacket and her boots. I add a few little gold dots to her boots to give her a little bit of pizzazz. And just giving her some additional things, some accents. So I'm just holding this down and so I can dry it. Just using a pencil to sort of anchor that for a moment to the page. So this stencil is one of my first designs with Stencil Girl. I hope it won't be my last, but I am excited to share it with you all because I feel like it's a really beautiful stencil for backgrounds. I thought my first couple of submissions would be background stencils because I'm a huge fan of having cool backgrounds on my stuff, and I just liked the idea of starting with something that feels like it's really, really, really me, and it kind of embodies who I am. I work with energy a lot. Energy is everything to me. And so I thought this would be a really interesting way to make my Stencil Girl stencil debut. So I hope you'll get this stencil. I hope you'll share with me what you create with it. I am just giving her a good adhering. I'm using glue. I started with glue stick, but yeah, some days the glue stick doesn't do what it's supposed to do depending on the humidity and lots of other factors, but it wasn't quite working for me today. It could have had to do with the wrinkles on the page, but so instead I came in with some tacky glue that I have in a little tiny bottle. I transfer it from a bigger bottle. And then I'm coming in with some of my Stabilo All and just adding a little bit of shading around her, kind of giving her almost like a little something that makes it look like she's gonna kind of pop off the page any moment now. So I used the Stabilo All for that and activated it with water. Now I'm gonna add some stuff to the page, some words. I'm gonna tell her story. And I look at her and I see this energy. She's got her arms crossed. She's kind of got a stance that's kind of like, here I am bold. I am here. You cannot miss me. You cannot ignore me. So I thought I would capture that with some words. And so I just take my time. It's just my own handwriting with a little bit of going over the lines double to make them stand out just a little bit more. And playing with the paint pens, different colors, and different sizing of my lettering, just kind of allowing. No plan really. I was like, I don't actually know what I'm going to say about her until I write it. And I'm okay with that. And so I just ended up writing, her energy was big and bold. And I can't remember what I wrote at the end. Let's wait and see here. What did I write? Her energy was big and bold. Oh, I think I wrote, and she owned it. Yeah, and she owned it. And I hope that is true for all of us. We all have big, bold energy in us, and sometimes we just have to step into it. We just have to own it. So I'm just adding a few little embellishments around the page just to sort of bring it all together at the end here. But it's really just intended to highlight that aura stencil in the background, and the beautiful ways in which this stencil can create lovely aura. The thing about this stencil that I'm really excited about is rotating. If you rotate it 90 degrees every time you use it, you can really get some beautiful layers and some almost like a 3D effect happening with it as well. So here's some of the pieces that I did at the very beginning to test the stencil, and it has a really cool little effect. I hope you love it.